Okay, let's see if this is working. Happy Wednesday. We are more than halfway through the week and we get to talk about something really fun, right? Who loves writing IEPs? And I am just going to take a quick second to make sure that the video is going through. Okay, so we are ready to go. Awesome. So yeah, let's start doing this. And I'm going to make sure this doesn't go. Okay, awesome. So I have 5 tips for you guys to make this process just a little bit easier because most of us have IEPs all year long, but just combined with the other things that we have going on and getting more referrals and we're at the point where we're ready to dismiss hopefully a few or several kids. And then because spring is always when we get our new students, there's always a lot of renewal. So it's just a little bit busier, but we all know that. And hopefully we almost have spring break or some other little break to look forward to, and then we'll have the end of the year. So here are my 5 strategies to kind of make it through this slightly crazy season. And the first one probably won't surprise you, but it's to make a plan. So if you have 20 IEP meetings the week of March 26th, I'm just pulling a date out of my head, but if you have 20 IEP meetings coming up, don't wait until the weekend before to start writing them. So what I do, and I do this at the beginning of the year and I kind of reevaluate it every month, but I will write out all of the IEP due dates and put them on the calendar. And if I see that there are a lot of IEPs due at the same time, I'll try to spread them out just for my sanity. And it might seem silly to try and push an IEP forward, but if you have one of those crazy IEP weeks, it's going to happen every single year because they're always going to be due around the same time. So you might as well do yourself a favor for future years or for future SLPs too, just to kind of help spread that out a little bit. And even if you end up having all of the IEP meetings on that week, you can start writing them ahead of time. So you will have a ton of meetings, which, I mean, you have to have the meetings eventually, but it's really helpful if you can just get the paperwork piece out of the way. And then in terms of getting that paperwork out of the way, the second tip that I have is to schedule blocks of time. So I have an incredibly hard time multitasking, and the day just gets so crazy and just jumping back and forth, and things always come up during the day. So I would recommend just blocking off a time and having it be your special IEP time. Whether you come in a little bit early or just block off a little bit of that time in the morning, or you shut your door, you put it on lockdown during lunchtime, or you stay after a little bit, or you just make a little bit of time for yourself to be able to make some headway, because we're not going to get a whole lot done in 5-minute increments. So we really need to give ourselves some time. And then when we're doing that planning, set realistic goals. So if I have an hour-long block every morning, then I'm going to, I'll know about how long it takes me to finish an IEP, and then kind of go work backwards so that I can achieve my goals and so that I know what has to get done. So that helps keep me more motivated, because when I do have that time, I know that I need to make the most of it. But then also that keeps me from having to drag home a bunch of papers. But yeah, and then the third step is to kind of help ourselves figure out what we're working on during that time. So I just printed off, I don't use these anymore, but I love myself some checklists. And so and this one isn't laminated, but I used to print and laminate different checklists for IEPs and evaluations, and I would attach them to the reports so that I could just check off all the different steps as I went along. And then anytime I pick up the paperwork, I know exactly what else I need. and then I don't miss important steps. I was notorious for forgetting my language samples and things like that. So these really helped me make sure that I was getting all of the steps and addressing all of the things that I needed to. More recently, I started using, I went all digital and stopped using the paper copies as much. But then I still organize my documents, which brings me to number 4, is the organization piece. So I have another blog post on how I keep track of everything digitally, but I use this, here, let's see if I can turn it. So it's like this hanging file organizer, and it has beautifully colored folders, and there are 6 of them. So I color code, and I work on 6 IEPs at a time. Like, I think that's my realistic amount that I can get done in a week during my working blocks, and that's just how it worked out for me. So I would work through 6, and it'd be my goal. I'd set it up at the beginning of the week, set up all of my tasks, and then work through those pieces so that I could just be done. And once I finish the IEPs, I just put them in a folder so that they're ready for the meeting, because I don't have a lot of control over when those meetings happen. But that's kind of how I kept track of everything, and it helped keep me less overwhelmed. I knew that everything was going to get done, because the most stressful part is just, I get most stressed out by having all of these open loops, all of these things that I know I should be doing, or that I feel like I have to do right now, but I don't have the time to do everything all at once. So just breaking it down into those little pieces was really helpful. And in my digital system, I was able to color code the tasks, so I knew exactly where to go to find the related documents and assessments and things like that. So that just made that process a lot easier for me. But if you're go with what works for you. If you're a paper kind of person, then print out these checklists and use them. If you do want to go digital, then check out that blog post and hopefully get some inspiration from that, or kind of figure out what works for you. There's probably a hybrid approach that would work well. So those are the first 4 steps, and I haven't been following my advice during this video, but the 5th one is just to breathe and give yourself some breathing room. And I think that by starting to plan ahead a little bit and getting your ducks in a row, you'll be able to give yourself that space to just take a breath and I've had to try different things in different seasons, but sometimes just taking a minute to think about, okay, I really don't enjoy paperwork, but it's giving my students access, trying to look on the bright side. I get to write this IEP for this student. I get to make sure that he's receiving the services that he deserves, and having it, kind of reframing that, or just by having a better system, being able to go home at the end of the day and just breathe and be done and not have to take things home. And so, like I said, that looks a little bit different for every SLP, but really think about what you need to be happy in your job and to stay sane and not be stressed out all the time, and make that happen. And there are tons of awesome resources out there about taking that time to breathe, and you could even have it be just a countdown to spring break or summer break. But do what works for you, and just give yourself a little bit of that grace that some of the weeks are going to be a little bit crazy, but you're doing what you can to make it happen. Let's see. So Sarah says, I take a break by pulling together some resources for the parents. I feel productive, but I'm not looking at an IEP for an extended period. Yeah, so picking other productive projects that are less cognitively taxing, but that are also meaningful and helpful is a great way to kind of take a break. And for me, therapy would sometimes be my break too. I had a paperwork block, and now I get to go play with my kids. So it was a good combination. I love that. That's a great suggestion, Sarah. So let me know if you guys have any other questions, or if you have any awesome strategies that you'd like to use. I will link to the blog post that has more details, and it has links to the hanging file organizer, and I will also share a link to the checklist and the blog post that I wrote about the digital organization to keep track of all of the IEPs and all that good stuff. So that is all for now. I will see you guys next week. I'm always on here on Wednesdays at 4:30 Mountain Time, so 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern, and I look forward to seeing you guys again.